Choose or Die Ending Explained. This was an interesting movie for sure, centering around a lost game called Cursor from the 1980s which made you pick between the lesser of two evils and no real good scenario. We watch Asa Butterfield as Isaac and Iola Evans as Kayla try to defeat it. But what happened at the end? Well, let's jump in. Here is Choose or Die Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The game called Cursor being found by Kayla was the start of the end of her life as she knew it. There were 4 levels and then a boss level in which she needed to win to be able to escape with her life and defeat the curse. And it did quite literally come down to that. Throughout the movie, we saw the impact that death had on her life, in losing her brother, her mother wanting to die, and also losing Isaac in level 4. Once she'd gone through level 4 at the headquarters of the game and found out the origin of the game, it sent her to a location for a final boss battle. Here it became pretty clear when she pulled up that it was going to be the house that we saw at the start of the movie, where we saw Hal play the game and cause harm to his family. However, it looked as though he'd taken it a step further than when we picked up last time with him in the opening. I thought the features that had been taken from a magazine and stuck on his son was quite the sight and was actually quite haunting to look at. It's here where we found out that Hal only had to complete 2 levels of the game in order for the curse to stop for him. But much to his surprise, it didn't, which led Kayla to arrive. He was essentially the boss and Kayla was being described as the hero. We found out in this scene that Hal is actually the reason that Kayla and Isaac ended up playing the game, due to the fact that he made a ton of copies and ended up distributing them out, which led it to come into their direction. And this was done because the game promised to leave Hal alone if he did that. We saw here that the boss level adopted almost the opposite effect. You have to cause harm to yourself in order to hurt the other person and end up winning. We're led to believe that Kayla was going to lose, but I feel the predictable nature of this movie wouldn't have her losing, and it didn't. This in turn led her to complete the game, being one of none before. She then received the real prize, and as Robert Englund said in the voice message earlier on, she became worthy. This allowed her to have access to the symbols of the curse, and we know that the symbols affect reality and can influence what happens in the real world. We saw her utilize this on Lance, and caused him to push his head into a sink full of needles. She chose to do it to him because he'd caused so much pain to her and her family. Kayla can now essentially be the question master and pose extremely difficult situations to the people she wants to cause harm to. We've seen and found out that when the cursed get hurt, the cursor benefits from it, and we see this when she used it on Lance, as all of her wounds then started to heal. A life for a life, as it was mentioned, with her mother now being okay in hospital. From there, it then cuts to a previous conversation that she had with Isaac earlier on, where she referenced his drawing that he did for her when she looked like a superhero, and Isaac mentioned how she had to use her powers wisely. This was a moment of slight foreshadowing that we didn't really see at the time. She now sees herself as holding powers, and can do good with them, rather than getting unknowing victims to participate and end up getting hurt. We also know that she plans on doing good with them, as she says to the creator of the game on the phone that they should only curse people who deserve it. This is when Beck, the creator of the game, asks who will suffer next. She completed the game, holds the abilities, and now has the power to place the game upon anybody she wishes. We also saw that it's not restricted to just old school gaming consoles or computers. She was able to do it to Lance on the phone through a text message, so she quite literally holds the power at the palm of her hand, and could curse who she likes with the ask of a question. And it looks like she's going to do that to the people that deserve it. I don't know if this movie was particularly good, or even succeeded in being what I would call a good horror movie. The plot wore relatively thin quite quickly, and there were some inconsistencies that meant the ending didn't necessarily have the impact that it needed. The loss of her brother, her mother's deterioration, and also losing Isaac lost their weight as the movie went on, and what once held the character down felt as though it became back-of-the-mind thoughts, which for me didn't ring true to the character's mindset. It was an interesting concept, provided an entertaining hour and 25 minutes, and tapped into that old-school style gaming nostalgic touch. What did you think of this movie? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.